This video is going to be going over the Warzone Season 3 Reloaded patch notes. If you do enjoy content like this and you want to see the patch notes as quickly as possible, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k subscribers. Click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. But let's get through this really quickly. There's a lot of different changes happening with this update right here. Some are really big changes that should have came to Warzone a long time ago. So we're going to get through it. So first of all, we've got a health increase in Warzone overall, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But when it comes to the player count has now been reduced down to 120 for main battle royale game mode. So obviously we'll see that take place. Now, I don't really think this is going to change too much of the pacing of the game overall. I think it's going to be very similar, but I think it's just making it an even number to fill up lobbies faster. I think that's the idea for that. So then we've got a stim shot nerf, which will be happening obviously as well. So stim shots have become hugely divisive in Warzone, and the movement boost with a more speedy agility than ever before. After months of complaints, Raven have confirmed that they will nerf the stims, and that will be arriving at some point in Season 3. Now, I actually really like the stim shot buff that they got for movement. They made it really, really good, but I'm not really too sure why they're kind of nerfing this. I know people have complained about it, so maybe they just slow down the movement or don't give it as much of a boost, but we'll see. Then we've got some of the full Season 3 patch notes right here. So they've got Serpentine, which is reducing 20% of damage when you're sprinting into oncoming fire. New lootable perks, so we've got Serpentine, Tune-Up, Tracker, Hardline, Kill Chain, and EOD. So slightly different to what was lootable in perks last half of the season, but now they've changed the perks around, so they'll probably just kind of rotate this every so often. So we've got the new field upgrade, which is the radar jammer. So this has an effective radius of 125 meters. UAVs usually work within 200 meters, so that's the kind of counter to it. Effects last for 45 seconds. Susceptible to being hacked by players using engineer as well. So obviously I think because it is a field upgrade and not a kill streak or whatever, is not going to be as powerful, but it's still pretty good regardless. New lootable loadout drop markers. So now we're going to get loadout drops that are going to be found around the map. Pretty cool, especially going to change the game quite a lot. Obviously we've got the high value loot zones, which we already knew about before. The underground transit system, which is actually going to have a system in place that tells you if the locations are populated with a lot of players, not so many players, or no players at all, which is going to be really cool. So it's going to let you know if you want to go and fast travel to that area. New lootable speed boost power-ups. So this is probably why they nerfed the stim shots, is because you're going to be able to get speed boost within the map anyway. So this is probably why. So you can't kind of compile them together and make it completely broken, overpowered. New occupation scan, which is a public event, which is going to happen during the game modes. Any player standing or crouching whilst the scan takes place will have their location exposed. So basically it's going to be a free UAV throughout the game. So obviously, again, it's just going to help players that are a bit more aggressive. And they have changed the way players show up with Ghost as well, which we'll get onto in just a moment. So stim adjustments, slide modifier has been reduced. So like I said earlier on, basically they just made it so it doesn't move as far or as fast. So overall it's going to be a bit less powerful, but hopefully it's still useful. Added weapon damage interruption effect. So if a player receives weapon damage, the healing effect will be interrupted. To be honest, I don't think this was the main issue in my opinion. Stims probably won't get used as much now because of this, but again, we'll just need to wait and see how it plays out. But I feel like the second part of this wasn't really all that necessary. Playtime. Now we've got the gulag tokens in the game, so you can basically come back and get another gulag, or you've got the redeploy extraction tokens where you pretty much come back for free even if you die. So both of those, very cool. Increased lootable self-revives. This is mainly for caldera. It's just increased the overall spawn rate of self-revives. It means pretty self-explanatory. Player count adjusted, which is reduced down to 120. Increased downed movement speed. That's pretty cool actually. I think that's something that is very interesting. So if you're trying to get close to teammates, you can get revived and all that kind of stuff. That is actually a very solid update in my opinion, especially for this game anyway. Decreased buyback cost across every game mode. So again, that is very cool in my opinion. 3,000 instead of 4,000. More constant players coming back into the game, especially with the reduced player count now. This makes a bit more sense. So overall, hopefully this just helps out a ton when it comes in the game. Now, death tax adjustment. So adjusted the tax upon death 80-20 to 50-50. So basically when you die and you lose cash, you only have 20% of your cash left when you respawn back, but now you actually have 50% of your cash left, which is actually pretty solid in my opinion. Quality of life updates, and this is one of the big ones, and you probably won't be able to see this too much here, but essentially they've cleaned up the HUD an absolute ton, so you can see your teammates' plates, if your teammates got a gas mask, if your teammates got self-res, if your teammates got kill streaks, a loadout drop, all these kind of good stuff. And it also lets you know what you can purchase with the amount of cash your team has together. So let's say, for example, all your team together has enough cash to buy a loadout. It will let you know you're able to purchase a loadout now. So that is some really good HUD changes, and it's something that we've been probably wanting to see for a long time. The only thing I would like to see is how many ticks your teammates got left in the gas mask, but I feel like that's probably a bit too much overkill. But overall, very solid changes here. You can't really make it out too much, but hopefully you'll see it in game not too long from now. New HUD changes, I've already kind of mentioned this: kill streak, self revives, key cards, gulag tokens as well, because obviously those are new additions to the game. Improved footstep audio. Best thing we could have seen for a long time. Main issue with this game is footstep audio, and they're basically going to prioritize footstep audio over any other gameplay sound, so gunfire, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we'll see how that works out in game. Ranged weapon melee damage reduced. So gun button requires now 4 successive hits instead of 3. So again, hopefully people melee less, because it's broken still in my opinion. Slide camera lock. So this is the most annoying thing, especially when you're sliding down a slope, but they've now managed to fix that so your camera doesn't lock. Again, very good change here. Incoming kill streak warning banner. Move the banner to below the weapon reticle to prevent visual obstruction. Again, just kind of more of a quality of life thing. To be fair, I don't really think it needs to be as big as it is. They could make it a lot thinner as well, so and less obtrusive. So overall, I think they could change that maybe even a bit more. Menu browsing interruption. Players will no longer be brought back to the front of the end lobby when party hosts are queuing into matchmaking. I don't really know what that means. Buyback prioritization. The buy station interference will prioritize dead squad team members by listing them first. Yes, that's a good change. Ghost has now got a speed threshold, so only if you're moving at a certain slow rate, so maybe if you're just regular walking, regular sprinting, or not moving at all, now you'll show up on Ghost, whereas previously it was only if you're sprinting, then obviously you wouldn't show up on Ghost. So again, we'll need to see how that plays out. Spawn protection value adjustment. Players with a visible shield will take 25% reduced damage. Again, I'm not really too sure how that works out in game. Armor truck adjustment, decreased health, decreased turret damage, pretty cool. Other adjustments: frag grenades damage increased by 24.5%. That is a huge buff to frag grenades. Just overall, I mean, it was already pretty powerful. Now it's just going to make all these very viable now. So now the throw knife does a one-hit kill, obviously, to upper torso. So that's pretty cool. And that's because they increase the health overall as well. Claymore does more damage as well. Proximity mine does more damage as well. And Semtexes do a little bit more damage, but they are the most popular at the moment. So it's kind of just making the other ones a bit more viable because of the increase in health. Now, so health increase. Player core health has been increased from 100 to 150 across all game modes, including private matches as well. So this is going to be 300 health with armor plates. Ground loots, obviously ground loots being changed every so often, every season, all that kind of stuff. We already know that. Nothing there. Gulag loadouts. Loadouts have been refreshed, so this is going to be gulag weapons. Bug fixes. Xbox players will get 120 Hz, which is huge. That's probably the main one here. Issue causing the 3-line rifle to fire slightly to the left. Known issues are on the Trello board. We've got the new weapons coming in, and we've got the weapon adjustments here as well. So we're going to get through these again really quickly. So Cold War AK got a nerf. Neck multiplier has been decreased. Recoil control has been reduced, so it's going to be harder to control the gun now. AS44 got our initial recoil decrease, so it's going to be a bit more easier to control. Bullet velocity has been increased and now has a functioning on-hand perk. So AS44 got a buff. Assault rifle Charlie, which is the STG, I think. Headshot damage multiplier has been increased. 32 round. Oh no, this is the bar assault rifle. So magazine capacity has been increased, magazine capacity increased, magazine capacity increased, overall mag capacity increases, bullet velocity increase for Cooper Carbine, neck damage multiplier reduced for the Cold War C58. They've been nerfing the Cold War guns for a while now. AMAX, max damage decreased, nerf to the AMAX. Fara now, the Fara has had a damage decrease as well, so nerf to the Fara. Nikita AVT, recoil adjusted to make it easier to use. So this is going to be a really powerful gun now in my opinion, and sprint to fire has been increased by 10%. I think that's going to make it a bit slower. This is increased, but I think they've just made it slower to sprint to fire. Assault rifle Bravo for Vanguard. I'm not too sure what gun this is, but basically it's got a headshot multiplier increase. And we'll kind of see that as we go through the games. I'll go over all the kind of TTK changes and stuff later on today as well. Then we've got the NZ41, which is a horrible gun to use, but essentially the fire rate and recoil control has been made a lot better of this weapon just overall. So they've actually reduced the fire rate multiplier, and damage range and bullet velocity has been increased. So overall, they've made it a bit hard to control when it comes to the fire rate, so it's slower, but when it comes to kind of recoil control and bullet velocity and stuff's got a buff, so kind of in between. Minimum damage has been increased on the Vargo, so that's got a buff. Headshot damage multiplier has been increased. Vargo will probably be a solid weapon again now. Volk is now got a headshot damage multiplier increase, neck multiplier increase. Volk's going to be a solid sniper support weapon. It already is, and it's going to be ridiculously good. Max damage decrease for the Black Ops Cold War XM4. Getting a huge nerf now into the XM4. It's already a low recoil gun, but it's just getting nerfed even more. Max damage for some of the marksman rifles has been increased, but I feel like the main issue still is the fact that they use sniper ammo. I don't really think the main issue is the overall damage profile of these guns. So M1 Grand's in there as well. Sniper rifles, bullet drop off has been increased, so I don't know if that means the damage range has been kind of increased for the bullet drop to go farther. Damage range decreased on the Pellington. ZRG upper torso multiplier has been decreased, so the ZRG got a nerf. That's probably the most popular sniper at the moment. Sniper rifle Charlie from Modern Warfare. I'm not really too sure what gun this is, but bullet velocity has been decreased. I think this is the AX50. 3-line rifles got a buff overall when it comes to bullet velocity, and the sprint to fire, and it realigns the reticle. Sniper rifle Alpha from Modern Warfare has a max damage range increase. Rytech, no one really cares about. Sniper rifle Charlie from Black Ops Cold War, which I think is the semi-automatic sniper. Type 99 has got some slight changes as well. Damage range has been increased. The Clouser mags are now going to give you better bullet velocity and things like that. They've not really increased the kind of damage profiles of the snipers, because obviously they did nerf that just for the most recent update. Grenko Vanguard, I don't even know what that is. Oh, the anti-tank rifle. Bullet drop off has been decreased. Again, it's not really a popular gun. Cornet 8K Vanguard, they added a new perk to it, so they've added the Frenzy perk, which is going to give you better movement, I think. So overall, that should be pretty cool. Shotguns, damage decreased by 20% for all shotguns. So Street Sweeper, Gallo, Jack 12, Origin, R90, Gracie Auto. So that's kind of weird though, because with the health going up, I don't really feel like they needed to change the damage of these guns, but I guess they did anyway. With the health, change the health pools. Automatic and semi-auto shotguns are hitting a time to kill. Basically, they're just really good with time to kill, so I mean, kind of makes sense. Combat shotgun now. So the combat shotgun had a movement speed increase, so that's pretty cool. I guess it's not really gonna be all that popular anyway. Milano max damage range has been decreased. Mid damage added at 33, so it's gonna basically take way more shots to kill at long range. Lapa max damage has been decreased. They're basically nerfing the shit out of the Cold War guns at the moment. Max damage has been decreased for the OTS as well. Armageddon has a little bit more, a little bit less initial recoil, sorry. Then we've got the Owen gun. The damage multiplier has been decreased for the Owen gun. Kind of seen that one coming. Submachine gun Alpha. Submachine gun Alpha from Modern Warfare has had a damage reduction. I think this might actually be the AUG. So that's actually had damage reductions overall as well. Wellgun added the frangible weapon perk. Don't really know how that's going to help out at all, to be honest. But anyway, UGR mag capacity has been increased. That's a pretty good change considering this gun's actually really good as well. That's actually a solid change. So that's overall a very good change. Pistol attacks now require 3 successful hits to initiate a finisher on the target. 1911 vanguard mag capacity and damage increase. Pistols are pretty shit, to be honest, so they have just basically buffed them across the board. The rat. So we might make a video on the pistols overall because this is good changes here. Handgun Charlie, Black Ops Cold War. This could be the Daimati pistol being nerfed once again. Machine pistol from Vanguard is being buffed. Launchers, Akimbo perk now reduces damage by 10%. MX silencer, bullet velocity increase from 15 from 10. And the rose skin is now had a 70% increase to brightness, which is a huge change. So this is a lot of big changes happening. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be making TTK videos going over all the changes of the weapons as well. And thank you very much for watching.